Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Amy Kerr. I'm the Vice President of Recruiting at Worldwide Health Staff Solutions, and I am joined this morning here in the U.S. by...
My name is Kelsey Robinson, and I'm the Senior Recruiter here at Worldwide Health Staff Solutions.
And we are actually coming to you live from the Medical Solutions headquarters. It's our parent company in Omaha, Nebraska.
Woo-hoo!
It's a super exciting week. This week, we have scheduled 1,000 interviews for the second largest nonprofit hospital system in the U.S., Common Spirit. I think many of you are probably participating in the interviews this week and have either already done a good job or we have 2 days left and interviews have just gotten underway. So today we're gonna do some exciting things. We're gonna talk about the interviews, what happens. We're gonna take a tour of what's happening with the interviewers, see if we can have a Ron Hoppy sighting, see if we can catch some interviewers in action. And then we want to talk a little bit about what we've learned about Omaha. We spent a week here and it's an amazing place. And then answer any questions. Anything else? Yeah.
No, just excited to share with you guys about what we're doing here today. This is like our first, I think, live event that we're doing like this, having a webinar and showing you guys what is happening here. So we're super excited to let you in a little bit on behind the scenes of what happens after you apply and you start interviewing and begin the process. So
welcome. And then we welcome all your questions. Please put them in the comments and we would love to answer your questions. Yeah. Maybe we'll start with Kelsey. Like, what have you learned about Omaha and maybe Nebraska in general in our time here?
Yeah. So this is my first time ever coming to Omaha and ever coming to Nebraska. So I've gotten to talk with a lot of different people that live here because I've been trying to learn all the information because so many of our nurses are going to come work here in Omaha or other parts of Nebraska. We've learned that they have a strong international population here. I think I've met people from 5 or 6 different countries that have relocated specifically to Omaha. I talked to a couple people that were considering Florida and California and Texas, and they decided to pick Omaha. And there's a few reasons why that I want to share with you. One of them is the cost of living. It is so much cheaper here than in other parts of the U.S. And we know that this is a big part of your decision when you pick where you're going to live. And so Omaha is great. Even us, as we've gone to restaurants and grocery stores, we've been like, oh my goodness, that's so cheap. We can't believe it here. We've talked with some people here at the Medical Solutions headquarters that have bought houses or property pretty soon with moving to Omaha because of how cheap it is here. And so if cost of living is a high priority for you in moving to the U.S., I cannot recommend Omaha enough.
And like the houses are... Even like we live in a state in North Carolina where the cost of living is pretty good, but this is like the houses are really great.
Much better.
They're so cute too. Like we have to put it on. I have to put it on my own list.
Yeah,
like
maybe, I know.
Think about moving to Omaha.
And there's like room to spread out. There's like property and land, and so if those things are important to you, it's super great. One of the other things that we've noticed is that it's a pretty easy city to get around. It looks like they have a good public transportation setup with a bus system that looks really awesome. And so, moving to a new country, figuring out the car situation and all of that can be stressful. And this seems like a good place to adjust and, get the resources that you need to do that. There's also a ton of jobs here. There are tons of businesses, lots of hospitals. And so if you're coming as a nurse to one of the hospitals here and you have a spouse that needs a job as well, Omaha and other parts of Nebraska are a great place to look for jobs. It seems like there's a lot of companies that are headquartered here and different businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think I was talking last night to the leader of this region for Common Spirit. And for this particular region, he really wants to make sure that he understands everybody who's coming with family members who want work and to see if they can even just find work for them in the hospital system.
Yeah.
Huge hospital system. There's so many jobs doing, obviously nursing jobs, but they need nurses, but they also do people in finance and IT and maintenance and, all kinds of other places. Yeah. And so, the hospital system itself is a huge employer in many different ways.
Right. One of the other things that we've noticed is that it's pretty clean here and the area is really nice. And the safety, it seems really safe. Just last night, me and some of our other team members that are here went out to dinner, and most of us walked back to our hotel after dinner and like felt totally safe and like haven't had any safety concerns here at all.
No, we haven't even seen a traffic accident.
No,
Like it is like,
been really great.
It is unbelievable. I mean, it's really, and everyone is so lovely.
Really,
like,
really nice.
It's everyone's really kind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like I don't know about the city where you live in, but like in many cities, especially big cities, people beep their horns when they drive. Like people are so polite here. They don't even beep their horns when you drive.
And there's like no traffic. There's no traffic at all. It's been great. And the weather here, it gets pretty warm during the summertime. Mm-hmm. And so if you value a place that has all 4 seasons and especially some warmer periods, it's been very warm because it's summertime here. But they also do get colder weather. And, you know, I think like harsh weather is something that a lot of people are concerned about moving to this part of the country, but they have a lot of things set up to protect you, to notify you if there's harsh weather coming your way. And so I think overall it's pretty safe in that aspect as well.
Yeah. And I think one other thing I would just say maybe about Common Spirit in general is that as a company, they really value diversity. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that they are really looking at is how do they make everybody from all the countries. We have people from 35 different countries interviewing this week. Yeah, so how do they make everybody feel really welcome and connected and looking at all of those, all of those sorts of things. So what we have learned is that Omaha is amazing, great place to live. And Common Spirit is a really amazing partner and would be a fantastic employer.
Yeah. I've gotten to speak directly with some of the unit managers here. If you've interviewed, you've probably met them this week, and they are just the loveliest group of people. Most of them have been with Common Spirit for a really long time. So that really shows you that it's a good place to build your career. There was one unit manager that moved from Chicago out here because she heard it was just such a great company to work for. Their benefits are really fantastic. They have great PTO policies, good shift differentials, like everything that we've heard about them. They offer tuition reimbursement. Some of the hospitals do pay for the uniforms. And so, of course, benefits vary depending on the hospital that you're going to be assigned to. But there are just so many great things about working with this hospital system. So we really hope that you've had a chance to interview with them this week or have a chance coming up in the next couple of days.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So we will answer your questions at the end. Just, happy to please keep putting them in the comments and we'll be happy to answer them. So let's talk a little bit about the interviews. So we have 1,000 interviews that are scheduled right in the middle of them. Yep. A little bit more than halfway at this point. Just a note, if you did not get an opportunity to interview, there still might be a chance. There's a couple of slots left, but we will interview again for Common Spirit in the Central region. So, let your recruiter know that you're interested. I imagine that probably almost everyone that knows a nurse friend knows someone who's interviewed because we've done 1,000 interviews. So it's also a great place to be able to come with a friend and to know somebody that is with you. Yeah. Maybe we didn't say this, but also this is a great place to raise a family. Oh, yeah. The school system is really good. Great. So it's if you want to come with friends or family or, other nurses or colleagues that you'd like to be in the same place with, this would be an amazing opportunity to do that. Yeah.
A little bit about the interview process. If you've been with us for a little while, you're probably working with a dedicated recruiter already. If you're not, make sure you apply, and CJ from our team has been putting the link in the chat for you to apply. But most likely your recruiter helped you get scheduled for a particular date and time and a particular unit and hospital. And then we have interviewers. I think we've had 26 different interviewers here on site this week. They're in this building with us, each in their little offices all around the floor, interviewing all of you as nurses. We have a great facilitation team that's been helping out with this. And they're the ones that are giving you the Zoom links and getting you connected to your interviews. And then you're getting to interview with someone from the hospital, a unit manager. They are full of information about the hospital, and they've been really great in saying, this is where your experience is. This is where we have a need in our hospital. So let's make you an offer for this area.
Yeah. So I'm going to take you on a tour.
Let's do it.
Let's do a tour. So 1 moment.
And if you have questions about Common Spirit, or maybe you've already gotten an offer letter from Common Spirit and you have some questions about that, go ahead and put those in the chat. We're going to answer all of those questions at the end of our call today. And if you'll give us just a moment, Amy's going to be joining us live and going to give you a tour of the facilities here. You might even get to see Mr. Ron Hoppy on today.
All right. So I'm in the hallway at Medical Solutions. So we are going to start at the beginning. Also, it's a really beautiful building. They've got all kinds of fun stuff on the walls. This is the entryway. And so this is where everyone checks in when they come in to interview for all of the interviewers. And then they come down and they find their own room to interview in. Our team, our worldwide team, oh look, we saw Ron Hoppy. Woo!
Breakfast time.
That's right. I told you we'd have a Ron Hoppy sighting. So this is the worldwide team. And so this is the group of folks here that is working on processing the feedback, and they're talking to you as things come in, and they're sending out offer letters, and they're talking to interviewers. And it takes a whole bunch of folks to process all of the information that happens with all of the 1,000 interviews that we have scheduled. And then, this is fun. This is a recruiter. If your recruiter is Tyson, this is Tyson. He's on the phone talking to somebody about their offer that they just received. And then all of our interviewers are in a separate room, and they are connected to you through the internet. Here's one interviewing right now. And on the other side of that screen is a candidate that's interviewing for a nurse position. That's Bo. He's interviewing for the Nebraska float pool position. So if you are going to interview for the Nebraska float pool positions, that is who you're interviewing with. And then you can see, maybe go this way, there are more rooms like this all over the Medical Solutions office. And in every room, there is an interviewer that is interviewing. Oh, look, there's somebody else interviewing right now. So it's been really exciting. Kelsey, is there anything else you think I should show everybody?
Oh, can you show us the view from the building, Amy? Give us a little view of Omaha. It's so beautiful out there.
Oh, yes. Let's go this way towards the window. It's also a really big building. There's 2 floors. We're not going to go find the interviewers on the second floor, but there's people interviewing. And here in Nebraska, it's 7:45 in the morning. So there's a lot of people that haven't started. Yeah. Oh, look, this is Top Golf. It's a place where you can, you hit golf balls off of the thing over there into the area over here. But beyond that, you can see it's green. There's so many trees. There's lots, I think as Kelsey said earlier, lots and lots of land, big blue skies. I mean, it's really, really beautiful. All right,
Amy, why don't you come back this way and we'll start answering some of the questions we've got in the chat here.
That's good.
All right. Let me scroll down and see what kind of questions we have today. I see a lot of questions about working in the U.S. as a nurse aide or a CNA. Maybe you haven't passed the NCLEX yet. Right now, today, we don't have any CNA openings, but we encourage you to still apply if you want to get your application in our system. We also really encourage you to move towards taking the NCLEX exam. Just this event alone, we've scheduled over 1,000 interviews. So when are making it on the journey to take the NCLEX exam, we'd really love to assist you once you've passed and help you find an RN position. Let's see.
Somebody asked about pets. Can you bring your pets with
Yes,
you?
good question. You can definitely bring your pets with you. We understand that your pet is an important part of your family, and our relocation team is going to work with you closer to your arrival on all the details about your arrival, and that includes helping you navigate how to bring your pet with you to the U.S. Great question. I saw a question about a pharmacist role. We do occasionally hire for pharmacists. We would love for you to apply and get your application in our system. We have a dedicated recruiter who would love to talk with you.
We are looking for a pharmacist right now for one of my favorite employers in Iowa, which is just like Iowa is like a 10-minute drive from where we are right now. So all the things we said about Nebraska apply to Iowa. So please, if you meet all the qualifications, please apply, and we'd be super happy to get you connected with them.
Absolutely. I see another question about when will the visa bulletin be current and about your priority date. We actually did a great webinar, I believe it was yesterday, with Ron and one of our attorneys from Hammond that we work with. They had some great answers to these questions and what to expect and, how to navigate this challenging process. So I recommend that you check out our YouTube channel. I would love to answer your question in detail, but it's such a deep question that I can't answer it all here today.
And maybe the short answer is that the visa bulletin will probably not be current until October is the first chance. Every year in this category, there's 144,000 visas that get issued, and they start over in October. So it looks like they've used up the visas pretty quickly this year, and they're not all used up yet, but it looks like they've issued a lot of visas, but they start over in October. So I think really the key, and I think part of the webinar yesterday is about what do you do and how do you have patience and what do you do in the stressful time and the anxiety of it. So it's a great webinar to take a look at on YouTube.
Absolutely. I see somebody asking about mental health and behavioral health roles. If you've passed your NCLEX, we do hire for these positions. If you haven't yet passed your NCLEX, we encourage you to move in that direction and begin that journey. Let's see. I see somebody that is here in the U.S. on vacation. We hope you enjoy your vacation in Los Angeles and hope we get to work with you soon. I see another question about nurse-to-patient ratio in med-surg. It varies by the hospital, and I don't know all of our hospitals' nurse-to-patient ratios off the top of my head, but med-surg in the U.S. is typically 1-5, 1-6, and again, depends on the unit and the hospital.
And sometimes it can be higher, sometimes it could be 8-10, but I think in those situations, there's a lot of support that comes from nurse aides. Or PCTs, depending on what the system calls them. Mm-hmm. And in that case, it's really, it's a care by group. Mm-hmm. And so a nurse really supervises the CNA and then gives meds and that sort of thing. Yeah. And the CNAs do the daily care that nurses do in some other countries. But in the US, most of that is taken care of by PCTs or nurse aides.
One thing that's neat about Common Spirit that I learned this week is that for some of their units, they have virtual nurses on staff that help out their nurses on the floor by filling out forms or doing anything that the nurse isn't able to do right there. And so that is one way that Common Spirit works with larger nurse-to-patient ratios. Yeah. I see a question about positions and qualifications that are needed. We're looking for nurses currently working in bedside that have taken and passed their NCLEX exam. Additional qualifications depend on the hospital. So if you're interested, we welcome you to apply on our website.
Yeah, and I think one thing since we're direct hire, well, our job is to help connect you to a hospital system or facility that will hire you based on their individual qualifications. And then you get hired and you're an employee of the hospital, not a worldwide health staff. And so sometimes, with other companies when staffing, there may be not, they may say, here's what we hire. But ours is specific to the hospital because when you receive an offer, it's specific to a hospital, and so exactly where you're going to go. Exactly who is sponsoring you, exactly what you're going to get paid when you get here. And if anything changes, it's going to go up when you get reevaluated right before your embassy interview.
Absolutely. I see a question from Danny about renal nurse hiring. We do hire for dialysis and renal positions. We invite you to apply on our website if you have not already applied. Hi to Stella. Thanks so much for joining. Stella is one of the nurses that I've been working with, so it's great to see you. Let's see. I see a question about PTE being accepted. English acceptances depend on the state. So it will depend on the state that you're going to. PTE is accepted in a large number of states. The TOEFL exam is accepted in every single state, and IELTS is accepted in the most states after. If PTE is the journey that you're on, we invite you to ask your recruiter just to make sure that it's accepted in the state that you're interviewing for. Let's see. I see a question about lab technician roles. We do hire for MLTs. You're welcome to apply on our website and we can get you more information. Let's see.
So somebody asked about recapturing priority dates, and I think the answer is in almost all cases, your priority date can be recaptured. If you have your approval notice, we are recruiters. We help you find a job. And then our amazing legal team, when they submit your petition, they submit your approval notice and a request to recapture your priority date. Almost all the time it gets recaptured. In the few instances where it is not recaptured, there's also a process to ask them to reevaluate it. Employers are super excited to have people who have current priority dates. Like that's really exciting. And just to note, if you do have a priority date that's current, or will be current probably in July, the employer will most likely agree to pay for premium processing.
I see a question about, can I be in contact with another nurse that's preparing to go to the US for nursing? It depends on the hospital that you're applying to, but we have some online Facebook groups that we allow nurses to connect with each other as they're going through the immigration process, especially for an event like Common Spirit. There are so many nurses that are going to be going to these hospitals. And so you will not be on this journey alone. There will be other nurses that are in process and probably arriving around the same time as you. So you won't be by yourself when you're acclimating to a new city and a new hospital.
Yeah. And we've also done some Facebook Lives that I think you can find on YouTube with some of our ambassadors and nurses that are in process. And so you can hear from them too. Fantastic folks in different parts of the process. So I would encourage you to go back and watch them. We talked about everything from like saving money to what do you do while you're waiting. And they had some really good advice and best practices for things that they did. Does the nurse and nurse aid process take the same time, or is it different for nurses? It is different for nurses. Nurses are on what's called Schedule A. So USCIS has designated some jobs in the U.S. to be critical and high priority. And so there are some steps to the immigration process for a nurse that are just shorter. And there are steps to other jobs, nurse aides are one of them, that require additional steps. And so the nurse process is much faster. Also, it's a different category in the visa bulletin, and their retrogression is different. Today, almost all of our employers are hiring nurses, NCLEX passing RNs. We do not have open positions right now for nurse aides. And so the fastest way to get to the U.S. would be, if you're working as a nurse right now, to take and pass the NCLEX, because even in the time that you take to study for the NCLEX, you probably would still be here faster. Mm-hmm. And then when you arrive, you're going to have a much better salary.
Yeah, absolutely. I see some more questions about specific situations or specific qualifications. These aren't questions that we want to get into all the details of your particular case, but we invite you to still apply on our website. We can get you in contact with somebody that has those particular questions and answers. I see a question for one of my nurses that I've been working with. They have an offer with Common Spirit at the Yavapai Regional Medical Center in Arizona. Congratulations. We are so excited for you. If you have particular questions about your offer, you have my email address, or you can drop them here in the chat if you like, but we're really excited for you to have this opportunity. At dinner a couple nights ago, I got to chat with some of the nurses or the unit managers that work at the Yavapai Regional Medical Center, and they just had wonderful things to say about their facility. They both had been there for like 14 or 15 years, and they said, we live here because of this hospital. We love our family at this hospital, and we just really love working here. So I'm super excited for you to get to work in that environment.
Yeah, and I think all of the nurse leaders that are here, the shortest amount of time of anyone that we've met that's worked at Common Spirit is like 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's by choice, right? Like they don't have a contract. They can go wherever they want. So it's really a good sign.
Yeah.
There was a question I think about requirements for the pharmacists.
Oh, good question.
And so there's to be a pharmacist in the U.S. Really the most important part is that you have to pass the FPGEC, which requires 3 parts. So one is the TOEFL, so you have to take the TOEFL, and then you have to get an education report to make sure that your education is equivalent, and then you have to take the FPGEE test. And those are the 3 things that together make up your ability to get the FPGEC certificate, which is a lot like a visa screen, but for pharmacists.
I see a question from Joy. Hi, Joy. Thanks for joining. You have a question about migrating to another country during your immigration process. This is possible. We have nurses that do this all the time. The most important thing is to just keep your case manager informed about your moving and making sure that you're moving somewhere where you're able to stay working as a bedside nurse.
Yeah.
We do require that you stay working as a bedside nurse full time during your immigration process. So make sure that that transition allows for you to move into a hospital or another similar setting.
Yeah. And then there's a question about, is there Filipino nurses in community in Prescott, Arizona? We were just talking about this. I am actually headed home to Charlotte on Friday, and then on Saturday I'm going to a PNAA event in my home state of Charlotte near Winston-Salem, which has Wake Forest Baptist, which I think we have lots and lots of folks in process to go there. But there is a group of PNAA nurses. They're in Gilbert, Arizona, is the group that we've made contact with, which is not very far from Prescott. And I think what more to come. There's also what hospital is she at? There's also one of the nurse managers who's married to a Filipino from Cebu. She's from Levine. Yeah, maybe
it's
Mesa.
One of the Arizona hospitals.
And so yes, there is a Filipino community there. Absolutely.
Francesca has a question about referrals. You can find our referral link on our website. If you're already signed up, you're more than welcome to refer a friend or a relative, and we'll make sure that they get into our system.
And if you use our referral link and refer your friends, family, and colleagues, you can get paid $250 for your referrals when they get their petition filed.
Yep.
So you can also make money to save for your journey to the U.S. while you refer your friends and family.
Absolutely. I see a question from Joy about multi-state licensure. You will need to contact the state board, the licensure. Our team is not the ones that are going to process getting you your license. We can help with endorsement, but you should contact the state board. I see a question about needing current bedside experience from John. Current bedside experience is needed for all of our openings. We encourage you to return to a bedside setting if you have that option, because it is required for all of our openings.
Yeah, and I think there was a time, especially really during COVID time still, and when the NCLEX centers were closed, where there was an opening at long-term care facilities for people who were not working in bedside. I think what we've learned and what employers have learned is that if you haven't worked in bedside lately, it can be a really hard transition. And so what we want is for your transition and practice to the U.S. as an RN to be very easy, because there's so much transition moving to a new country. And many of you already know that because you've lived in other countries. But so I think working in bedside and making sure that your skills are really good is in the hospital's best interest, but also in your best interest as a nurse, so that when you come here, you can be very successful in your career.
I see a question about the age limit for nurses in the U.S. There is not an age limit for nurses in the U.S.
It's illegal to discriminate jobs based on age, religion, sex, marital status in the U.S.
Absolutely. I saw another question about certificate of employment and applying for a visa. You will get a contract that you'll sign after an interview if you pass the interview, and that's a contract between you and your employer. And then closer to your embassy interview, you'll receive what's called a reconfirmation letter, and that letter is the one that you'll need for your embassy interview. Joy, I see you have another question about moving to Canada. I would encourage you to talk with your case manager specifically because they'll be able to help you with the specifics of your particular situation.
And I think specifically for Canada, looking at what it takes to work as an RN, there's some additional education requirements. And I'm not familiar with them because we don't currently place folks in Canada. But that's something that I would just encourage you to check out because for some people, it's difficult to get an RN license.
Right. I see a question from Lynette about Common Spirit being PWD ready.
Yes!
They are PWD ready. Super
and
exciting.
All the other things. Like there's some other stuff that you would need to do. There's advertising. There's other stuff. It's all done.
Yep.
They are ready to file.
Lizette asks, can your dependents come to the U.S. with you? Absolutely, you can. You can add your spouse and any of your children that are under the age of 21 to your petition, and they will receive a green card as well. Or if you would like them to follow the follow to join process, that's something you can talk with your case manager about.
I saw something about how long does it take to file a petition?
Ooh, good question.
Great question. Sometimes it depends on the hospital, right? There's things that the employers have to do because this is an employer-sponsored visa, right? So employers are required to do some things. Common Spirit, for example, has done all of the things, and so they are ready. And then you, as a nurse, have to provide us with things. And so your case manager is going to ask you for a whole lot of stuff: education, passport, all these things. And then there's an ETA form for you to sign and send back to us. And then once all that gets put together, then attorneys will, like our legal team puts together your file. It's a big file. That's a bunch of stuff. And then the attorneys have to evaluate each one. Like it is our goal to file everything correctly for you the first time. And if we can help it at all. And so that process does take a little bit of time too. But it can be very quickly. Like if you get all your forms back, like it can be, within 2 weeks. It could also take a little bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a question about the overall process timeline. As you probably know, this is really dependent on the visa bulletin. Right now, we're expecting timelines of 18 to 24 months, but keep watching our social media channels, keep tuning into our webinars because we keep you guys updated. As soon as we know anything about the visa bulletin, we are sure to let you guys know.
Yeah. Then there's some questions about jobs in North Carolina and Texas. I'll say for North Carolina, we have some really amazing employers in North Carolina. And we live in North Carolina. I've lived in North Carolina my whole life. I'm North Carolina's biggest fan. But we right this second, we don't have interviews in North Carolina, but we will in the year. Before the year is over, we will have additional interviews in North Carolina. As far as Texas goes, we do anticipate interviews coming up for Texas in the future, maybe even with Common Spirit, actually. But we're not sure how many. And I'm just going to be real honest with you. Texas is a very popular state. And so I am guessing that to be able to interview in Texas, you're probably going to have some really high requirements. Yeah. Now, I would also say if you're somebody who is looking at Florida, Texas, New York, or California, if those are the states that you know the most about, I sincerely encourage you to look at other states. There are other states that people here love. There's 50 of them, and there's people that love living in every single state. And there are states that are safer, that have better cost of living, that may be a better place to raise a family. And there might be a state that is an amazing start for you in the U.S. that you have not even thought about.
One of the great things about our recruiting team is that if you're not sure about where you want to live in the U.S., you can tell your recruiter, hey, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for low cost of living. I'm looking for good weather. I'm looking for low crime, and I'm open. Your recruiter can say, you know what, we have an opening here, and I think this would be a really good fit for you. So I really encourage you to be open and flexible with your location because there's probably, like Amy said, a city and state that is the perfect fit for you that you probably just don't know about yet. And we'd really love to get you connected there.
Question. There's some other specific questions. So we do not have any vacancies in Texas right now, or New York or California or Florida. We do have some operating room positions that are coming open. What I will say is the OR, surgical services, PACU, endo, anything that's in that surgical services suite is very popular with nurses that are domestic to the U.S. And so there are fewer openings. And so I would suggest if you're an OR nurse, to be very flexible in your geography choice. And your recruiter will be happy to learn from you what you're interested in, and most likely put you on a waiting list. And then when the opportunities arise that you qualify for, we'll be happy to reach out to you.
And again, there's no age limit to work as a nurse in the U.S. Yep. I have seen a couple questions about nurse aides in our system that have gotten an email asking if they have their NCLEX yet. This is a normal email that we send out to our nurses to figure out where you're at in your journey. And if you have passed the NCLEX, we invite you to update your application so we can get you fitted with the other opportunities that we have available. But if you haven't passed your NCLEX yet, that's okay, and you can update that application accordingly.
There's some question about can a Nigeria with a general nursing certificate apply? I think generally nurses from Nigeria that we hire have a diploma. So if that's the same thing, then absolutely. But I think a 3-year diploma is a requirement.
I see this question about working as a behavioral and psych nurse. I think we mentioned this a little bit earlier. We do have mental health openings for NCLEX passers. Just depends on the state. So we invite you to apply and get connected with a recruiter.
Yeah. I think pediatric nurses are a lot like the OR nurses. Very popular in the U.S. and probably around the world, but very popular for domestic U.S. nurse. And so there are very few openings, but we are happy to put you on the list. We're also happy to talk with you about any experience you may have with adults to see if that might help you qualify for something else.
Yeah. I see a question, great question. Which state would we recommend in terms of good salary and cost of living? One of the ones that comes to mind is the one we're talking about a lot today is Nebraska. Another one that I would recommend is Iowa. Amy, any others that are the top of your head? Oh, yes, Ohio is great.
Ohio's, we are going to have, I'm trying to think about, I think coming soon, we're going to have some more New Jersey. Mm-hmm. We will have North Carolina again coming soon. Yeah. We've got some Colorado and some Montana. We have some North Dakota. Mm-hmm.
I will say some of the best like cost of living to salary offer ratios we've seen have been here in Nebraska. Some of the offers that we've seen have been really fantastic, and the cost of living here is really low. So we really encourage you to consider Nebraska.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's really important is that even if we're hiring in a state, what's important is if you're a match. Mm-hmm. And so the best way to know is to chat with your recruiter, because your recruiter can help look at your nursing background and help you know what is open right now for somebody with your background and what positions we're open.
Absolutely.
And maybe no one's asked this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The number one unit that we're hiring for right now is MedSurg, mm-hmm. Followed very closely by progressive care or high dependency.
Mm-hmm. I see a question from Raymond about when to do your visa screen and IELTS. Really work with your case manager on this. Yeah. They are the experts and can tell you when is the right time to do that, so that your documents move forward in a smooth process.
Yeah. And we do our best to align that with the visa screen. You know, it's a surprise to us too. Like we spend our time talking to our own immigration attorneys and other attorneys that have been in the industry for a long time. So we are going to give you the very best advice that we can.
Yeah. I see a question from Joy about when you arrive here in the U.S., who's there to help you and pick you up? It depends. Sometimes we have somebody from our Worldwide Health Staff team that has the privilege of being there and helping you out when you get there. Sometimes the employer is the one that's going to pick you up. We have a couple of employers that have people on their teams that they just love picking up nurses from the airport. They're so excited to welcome you. And other employers will make sure that you have transportation from the airport. In any situation, we'll make sure that you have a way to get from the airport and to your housing, which is covered by the employer for the first 30 days.
Yeah. Okay, I think we may have answered everything.
I think so too.
All right.
If you have a question that you are putting in the chat and you don't see an answer to, rewatch this video. We've answered a lot of the questions a couple of different times. So if you don't see an answer to your question yet, just rewatch the video. I think we've answered pretty much every question in the chat.
And I think too, if you have a question that's specific to your journey, mm-hmm. your timeline, please connect with your case manager. If you have questions about what you might be eligible to interview for, please connect to your recruiter. And CJ, if we could put the apply link back in if you haven't applied yet. And I'm just going to say, this has been great. Thank you so much for everybody who has participated and asked us questions. This has been fantastic. We appreciate your time. And we're going to go back to work. We got a lot of stuff to do. We've got more interviews to help.
More offers to send out. It's just been so busy.
Day.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us today. So great seeing you all.
Yeah. Have a good afternoon, evening, or morning.